Well, that's the very reason God brought you to this moment. God brought Rob here. He's not here by accident or chance. And he brought here because you needed to hear this weekend that you are not forgotten. And God knows your name. Amen? God has a way of meeting us in that moment. Rob, it is so great to have you with us here at Cathedral. We feel so blessed. Would you let Rob know how much you appreciate that? He's with us all the campuses. And Rob, just how you blessed us with that song and thinking about your own journey. We were talking a little bit about it and how you grew up in church, but you really didn't own your faith in terms of it being a personal encounter with God, a relationship that you began to live out until a little later on. But God kept chasing after you. His voice kept speaking out to you. Can you talk to us a little bit about it?
Well, you know what, Pastor Ken, you know the thing about the voice of the Lord, you can't escape it. Mm-hmm. You can try and deny it. You can say, that's really not God, but you know it's God when things just start happening. You know what I mean? I would go to church, you know, once again, I grew up in the church, but I didn't really know that I know God for myself. The kind of faith I had as a child was, oh gosh, I better get out of bed and go to service before Mom will come in the room with the belt. You know what I mean? And I better not fall asleep in church or she's going to pinch and twist. You know, that kind of hurt. Make sure you stay away. Or hit you and make the pastor skip the sermon. But as I got older, I found the Lord for myself. I went from church to church. I would sit in the back, and whenever the pastor would give the altar call, I would leave and try and exit before they blocked the doors, you know. But the thing that I thought that was amazing about God and the voice of the Lord was that in the secret place, in my closet, where only the secret things I would share with God, God was after me first. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad he didn't stop. But the thing that I thought that was amazing was that when I would go to different churches and try and sit in the back, although I may have made it out the exit door, God would send an angel before I would leave the church grounds. And they would speak to me or speak into me about things that only me and God would have known about in my closet. And I thought that was pretty crazy. That happened in South Bend, Indiana. It happened again in Florida. It happened when I was visiting my friend Amos, who was the minister of music at this Methodist church in Atlanta. And I was waiting for him to pack up the keyboard. And there was this little old lady walking down the hall. And she came up to me, and I had my big church Bible. It was big. My friend used to make fun of me. They used to be like, man, that New King James version of the Bible you have, that must be the kindergarten version. It's so big, man. I said, where's mine? You know, and I can at least read it. The letters are big enough. But anyway, this lady, she came up, she's like, I like your Bible. I said, oh gosh, she probably got jokes. You know what I mean? But then she spoke something that only me and God would have known about in that secret place in my closet. And that night I got home and I called my brother, who's a pastor. He's younger than I am. I'm the better looking one, though. I'm sure you and your brother have the same thing. Yeah, so the thing is, I went home and I called him and I said, tonight's the night. You know, I need the prayer of salvation. I want you to do it with me. Get emotional. But at that moment, my life turned around.
April 2001. It's the voice of God. But God just will not let you go. He keeps going after us. His voice keeps speaking to us until that moment you turn your heart over to Him, you surrender your life to Him, and then God began to open doors up for you to work with just people who are at the top of their field. And I know one of those folks at that time was Justin Timberlake. And God began to not only raise you up, but then to use you in terms of influence and impact. And talk a little bit about how you would pray. You're the designated prayer for that group.
Well, funny thing is, once again, in my closet, you guys are going to like your closet. I know the women love their closets. But for me, I look at it more than just hanging clothes, but for some reason, I find comfort in hearing from God, the voice of God, right in that closet. It gets a little too dark sometimes, though. I put my light in. But the thing is when I got called to work for Justin, there was no audition. I went and spoke with my pastor when I was singing on the praise team during that time, and I came in and I said, Pastor Landers, I've been offered this opportunity to go and work with Justin, and I just knew, based on how I was raised in the church, he was going to say, you can't go, you shouldn't go, you shouldn't do this. But the first thing that he said, he was like, when do I get tickets? I was like, are you playing with me? And he was like, well, let me sit down and talk to you for a second. He was like, well, God is omnipotent. He's omnipresent. He's everywhere. And he was like, he doesn't just reign in the church, but he reigns everywhere. And he said, sometimes we have sheep that get lost, and he'll send soldiers out in the field to draw them back home. Yeah, Justin brought sexy back, but God was bringing the Spirit of the Lord right to him at his doorstep. And the thing is, he recognized that. So my first day working with him, after not auditioning, which was great, but before he would get on stage, he would have me pray and cover the whole group. We're not talking about, oh, thank you for this opportunity, but we're talking about praying. And whatever God would put in my heart to say, I would just say it and just let it be. And the thing that I thought that was amazing was that he recognized that. He said he would not get on the stage unless we were covered in prayer. And that's how it is still to this very day. And one thing that happened that was really crazy, and which makes me really believe even more in the power of prayer, was that when artists go on stage late, for instance, the people that are hired in the local union or whatever, they have to help break down the stage, help put it up. And if you're not off the stage by a certain time, the artist is fine. They have to pay all these crazy fees, to cover that. It's almost some astronomical number, like $1,000 a minute, something like that. It's crazy. And I would pray, and sometimes it wouldn't be a 2-minute prayer or a 15-second prayer. It would be like some minutes, and people were getting delivered. I wasn't chasing them with the Bible. They would come to my room, hey, I need to talk to you, and talk to you about my life, or giving their lives to Christ, or stop using drugs and stop doing things. They would get delivered in these prayer circles. And management, and I know they didn't mean well, they came to me and they was like, look, Rob, you got to stop all of this praying too long. Justin's getting fined and all this other stuff, and he's got to pay that. And after weeks and weeks of getting pressure, one night I got fed up. I was like, okay, I'm just going to cut the prayer short. This is crazy. Y'all keep pressuring me. You don't realize what you're doing, but I did it. And after I cut the prayer short, Justin got upset with me. Before going to the stage, he was like, Rob, what's that all about? What you doing, man? I was like, well, your people were mad at me. Excuse me. We're going over on the prayer. And I told him, he told me, he was like, look, don't you ever do that. Don't you ever do that to me again. He was like, if it's a fine, I have the money to pay it. He was like, but I'm not getting on the stage until you say whatever God has told you to say in the circle. And that's that. So months later, or weeks later, we were in Philadelphia on our way to Atlantic City to do our regular routine. The crew goes ahead of us, starts setting up the stage. We go in at about 2 to 3 o'clock, do sound check, get on the stage, meet and greet party, and then we eat dinner and then have this big concert. But on the way to Atlantic City, the tour manager, who's a great friend of mine now, and is a believer as well now, which is awesome, he came to the back of the bus in tears, and he was like, oh my gosh, I will never, ever interrupt prayer again. I was like, what's wrong with you, man? Why are you coming at me like that? We about to fight over the prayer again? What's going on? He's like, no, I'm not going to interrupt prayer ever again. You take as long as you need. That's it. And I was like, what happened? And what happened was the day of the show in Atlantic City, the lighting rig, it was too heavy for the building, and it fell and crashed down on the stage below. And that could have happened during the performance. And what happened was somebody by the name of Gabe, who I saw 2 days ago in Vegas, and it was great to see him because I knew I was going to get to tell this story. But he was in that lighting rig as it fell to the floor. He had a broken leg, and there were 4 ladies underneath that area that didn't have a scratch on them. And I saw her yesterday in Vegas as well while working. But that's where Gabe would have been when he sustained a broken leg. Power of prayer, isn't that awesome? What about God we serve? I don't know about your God, but you know who did that? My God did that.
Amen. Sure makes a difference, and Rob, we're so grateful for how you're out there making a difference and touching people's lives, changing their lives, showing them the love of Jesus, and how you're using your talent to impact in so many different ways. If someone's out here this weekend, maybe at one of the sites or in the building and with us, and they haven't yet surrendered their life to Jesus, is there anything you'd like to say to them? You're getting ready to do one more song, but just before you do that, anything you'd like to share with them?
You know what? You know God's calling you. Just go and give in. It'll be the best decision you made. Amen. The best. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, but I know what that felt like when I used to sit in the back of the church, and I'm like, man, don't call me up and lay hands on me. Don't do none of that. I just want to get the word and run out. But you know when the call of salvation and the Spirit of the Lord is speaking through you at that moment, you know, stop denying it. And the last thing you want to have happen is you leave, you get in an accident down the street, and then you didn't have that opportunity, or you missed out on that opportunity. Just go and do it. Surrender. It's worth it. Trust me. I promise you, I wouldn't be doing the type of things that I'm doing, working with the caliber of clients. And I'm not saying that's going to happen for you. This is my journey. And I am blown away by what God is having me do in the field with the ministry. So God's got a plan for you. Just go and surrender. Stop playing.
Rob, thanks so much again for being with us this weekend and doing the vocal workshop on Sunday evening at 5 o'clock. It's going to be so exciting. And you're coming to do one more song for us. And so would you give Rob a great big welcome?